Hey guys, this is Brent with Western Equipment, and in this video I'm going to be giving you step-by-step instructions on doing a full engine service on this 2020 Z920M. So let's get started. Before we get started, let's go over a few of the parts and tools and things you're going to need when performing this service. Starting with the parts, you're going to need those 2 quarts of oil, oil filter, spark plugs, fuel filter, and your inner and outer air filter. And this will complete all of the parts to service that engine. Now, a few of the tools and things you're going to want around is going to be a pair of pliers. Here I've got a socket driver with a 10mm socket on it. This is going to help you open that drain plug. Next here, I've got a 3/8 ratchet with extension and 19mm socket. This is going to be used on your filter wrench, which on the one I have here is a cap style filter wrench, so a 19mm socket will be used on it. Next, we've got our spark plug socket here. This is going to be a 13/16 socket with rubber inside to hold those spark plugs snug when taking those off. Then we have here our spark plug gap gauge. I'll show you a little bit more in detail on how to use this when we go to changing those spark plugs. I've also got some paper towels here, as we know we're probably going to make a mess. I also have my drain pan and funnel for the changing of that oil. And then also, guys, right over here I have that operator manual. I would definitely suggest that you guys go ahead and bust that out and look at those step-by-step instructions so you know just exactly what you're getting yourself into. So from there, guys, let's start with step 1 and go start draining that oil. Step 1 here is going to be getting this oil draining, and we've done a few of these service videos and we always start with draining the oil. Reason being is once you get that oil draining, you can be doing some other things while that's continuing to drain out. Now, this drain system here is going to be a little different than most that we've had on our previous videos here, as this is going to be right here on the right-hand side of the engine, right below your oil filter. You have this little fitting here that's going to use a 10mm socket to break loose. And then once we break that loose, the oil is actually going to go through a 90 right there. It's going to make a 90-degree angle, go through this hose and actually drain up underneath the mower here. So your oil pan is going to be situated in a little different spot than normal. So right here underneath, just make sure that your hose here is lining up to where that oil will fall right into that drain pan. So we'll just go ahead and loosen this up here. Take off your oil cap here. All right, we should be draining pretty steady. From here, guys, let's go step 2 and go ahead and replace that air filter. Step 2, replacing the air filter. Guys, very simple process. We've got a clip here on the front side and then the same matching clip there on the back side. You're just simply going to pull this off. Pull this air filter out here. And then once you get that first one off, guys, you're also going to have your inner air filter. So, you know, this is basically a brand new mower, has about 1 hour on it. So as you can see here, these are very, very clean, but we'll go ahead and slip those new ones on. So go ahead and start with that inner filter. Get it lined up. And from there, just go on with our outer. After that, we'll go just back on here with our housing. Housing lid, rather. Lock these clamps down here. And that's all there is to the air filter. Let's go ahead and move on to step 3 and start working with these spark plugs. Step 3 here is going to be replacing the spark plugs. So we have, obviously on this engine, this is a V-twin, so we have 2 spark plugs. Got one here on the right-hand side and one over on the left-hand side. So for this video purpose, I'm just going to be showing you here on the right-hand side. Just know that when you're doing this service at home, you do have this one on the right-hand side and the one on the left-hand side. So to start, just pull our cap off here. Now this is going to be where your spark plug socket comes in handy. Once again, 13/16 with that rubber on the inside. So just go ahead and put that in there. onto your spark plug and then break that loose. As there it was there. From there, you should be able to twist it out by hand. Just a whole lot easier, guys, running it out by hand than you know, trying to run that socket and ratchet the whole time in there. Is once it gets loose, there's no resistance, so running it out by hand is just the easy thing to do. So there is our old one. Now, before we go back in with our new plug, what we always want to do is we want to check the gap of that plug. So what that means is we're going to be checking the gap here between this top electrode and this middle pin here. And how we do that is by using a gap gauge. Now, how you use this gap gauge is you're going to slide this edge in between that top electrode and that middle pin. That way you can get a reading. And these here should read right at 0.030. And how you're going to tell is once you start feeling resistance. So slides easy here. And once we get to 0.030, start feeling that resistance, we know there that our gap is correct. Now, if it wasn't correct, what we could do is take this tool and actually push down on that electrode to close that gap, or we can actually put the electrode through the hole on top and then pull up with the tool to widen that gap. So these do measure correctly, so we'll go ahead and go back in. Same thing here, guys, just go back in with your hand. It's a little easier there to get it lined up than if you had it in the socket. All right, once you get that lined up, go ahead and tighten it down there by hand. Get it as hand tight as you can. And they are long-winded, guys, so you will have to turn quite a ways. And then we'll just go back on with our spark plug socket here. So I wasn't quite able to get that as tight as I'd like. Now, just so you know, right here, I'm not tight. This is still basically spinning free. But once you do feel it get tight there against the engine, you know, just another good quarter to half a turn is all you need out there. Then just go back on with your cap and make sure to repeat that process on the other side. Also, make sure when you go to that other side to go ahead and check the gap on that other plug as well. So from here, guys, let's go step 4 and go ahead and change this oil filter. Step 4, let's go ahead and replace the oil filter here. Now, what I would do is go ahead and get your tool out of the way here, as this might get messy. So go ahead and remove that. And then we've gone ahead, we've left this open, so just in case any other oil wants to drain, it does have that open to where it can go ahead and flow. So this is a part here that may get sort of messy. You do have this lip here on the bottom underneath that filter that's going to run that into this sunken area here to where most of that oil should go ahead and drain out of this hole down into your pan. So I just suggest go ahead and having those napkins ready, or those shop towels, whatever you have, to go ahead and clean this up once you change this filter. So from there, guys, we'll just go ahead and get our cap wrench here, get that pushed there snug onto the filter, and go ahead and take your ratchet 19mm socket here. Find you a place here to go ahead and break that loose. And right there, you've got it loose. So now you can just go ahead and twist this off by hand. There comes that oil. And just like we want it to, you can see it's pooling right here in this sunken area and running down into our drain pan. You may want to adjust your pan just a touch there and make sure you're catching everything. And go ahead and spin this filter all the way off. All right, once you get that off, go ahead and set that down in your drain pan, as there is going to be more oil left inside. So now from here, guys, while you've kind of got that exposed, this might be a good time to go ahead and take that towel, go ahead and wipe as much of that oil off and get it going down into the drain pan there. Just get good and cleaned up while everything's exposed. Also, while you're in here and you're looking, this is the time when you're going to want to go ahead and check to see if any gasket from your old filter has been left here on the side of the engine. So make sure that that's not, because if there is gasket left there, guys, when you go on with that new filter, gasket onto gasket just causes problems. So from here, guys, before you spin on that new filter, make sure to go ahead and break open one of those new quarts of oil. Get you a small thin layer on the tip of your finger and go ahead and run that around the edge of the gasket. What this is going to do is just help seal that gasket against the side of the engine. So once you have that done, go ahead and start your filter back on. And then once you get that hand tight and get that to where the gasket is up against the frame or up against the engine there, you want to go ahead and get another good 3/4 turn on that filter, just hand tight. We don't need to be going back on with the cap wrench and really tightening that down, as those will suck up to the side of that engine over time. So, hand tight with another 3/4 turn there, just about as tight as you can get it. So from here, guys, we'll go ahead and refill put in the new engine oil. So what you're going to want to do is go ahead and tighten back up your plug here. Just go back on with that 10mm socket, tighten that all the way up, just like it was when you started. That way that new oil doesn't drain out. And then on these models, guys, the fill is kind of in an odd spot. It's not a good spot for you to get a good pour. So I would go ahead and use the funnel here. And now this particular engine does have a capacity of 2.1 quarts. So you do have your 2 quarts here. Once we put those 2 in, we'll go ahead and check that oil to see where we're at. Number 2. So back in top here on our dipstick. And pull that out and wipe it off. As of right there, guys, looks like we are full, but we're going to go ahead and check it one more time. Let's go back down in, screw it all the way down, give it just a second, and then pull it back out here. Now, guys, when you're reading this, what you're looking for is on these 4 bubbles here, to make sure that there is oil in all 4 of those, and then it comes all the way here to your full line. If we're down here at the bottom at this line, this is your add line. So as you can tell there, guys, with those 2 quarts, we are full. So from here, guys, we'll go ahead and move to step 5 and replace that fuel filter. Step 5 is going to be replacing the fuel filter. Now this is going to be over here on the left-hand side of the engine, easily to see there, a lot easier to get to than on some models, guys. So like we always say, this is definitely not the most fun job. It is going to get messy. But it is very crucial to go ahead and getting this changed for the life of your mower. So we're going to have a clamp here on top. Just going to take our pliers, go ahead and relieve that clamp, run it up the hose there, and then same thing here on the bottom. Take your pliers and run that down the hose. Now from here, this is where your messy part comes in. What I would do is I would go ahead and take this hose off first, as this is going to be the tank side. So you should go ahead and take it off first. And right there, that was fairly easy. Now, with our new filter, it looks a little different here, but it's going to do the same job. We're just going to want to make sure to get it on correctly. So as you can see, maybe it's a little hard to see there on the camera, but you do have an arrow here on this filter. That is going to be the way the fuel is flowing. So you're going to want to put your tank side on the bottom here so it can flow from the tank to the engine. So we have our tank side loose here. We'll go ahead and pop it on and just go ahead and run it down to where it is flush on the bottom of that filter, just like so. And now go ahead and take your filter out of the engine side. Now once you take this loose, you are going to get some of that fuel spillage. Pop that loose. Now all there is to go back on is to go ahead and get your filter here, put back on the engine side hose here, and get that run all the way up to the top of that filter. And we're going to go back on here with our clamps on both sides. And then that is all there is to it, guys. So pretty painless job, just kind of messy, not the most fun, but that is all there is to changing that fuel filter. So that's it. Your only last final sixth step is going to be go ahead and make sure and get your area cleaned up, dispose of that trash, dispose of the oil, you know, as you should. But guys, that is literally all there is to it. You just saw every step-by-step instruction there for servicing the engine on that Z920M. Now, if you're watching this video and you're looking into this mower, maybe you're needing these parts to do that service, make sure to check the description below, as we will put a link to our parts website, west-equip.com/parts, where you can get those parts directly from me. If this video helped you out, guys, make sure to hit that like button and give us a subscribe, show us some love. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.